All right, everybody, welcome to the Bohorror Tales podcast. As usual, I'm here with my co-host, Madison.
Hi.
Christopher.
Hi.
and a new one, which is Davin.
Hi.
All right, now
we all start booing.
Now, as you can see, we all look very styled, very nice on the couch, and then Davin is just sitting here.
No, I look like fine China.
That's because I don't care to draw Davin. So he's just there for now. Maybe if I get bored one day, I'll draw him. But right now he's just a blue thing. So
he's on bad terms.
Yeah, we're on very, very bad terms. So that's to explain that. Now,
all I'm saying is that if he was green, he would die.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like,
no,
I got it. We got it. Okay, listen.
It took me a second.
It took me like 3 seconds. This thing.
All right. So the topic today is the afterlife. It's a very controversial topic, very debatable topic with many people, especially religions. So I'm not gonna lie, this is probably gonna get a little offensive for some of you. So I would just be
Chris, shut the hell up.
Be wary of that as we go into this. So if someone calls the Christian faith idiotic, then just be wary of that. Is all I'm saying. Just and it's really hard to really change someone's opinion once they know something going in. They don't. So just try and keep an open mind, and also keep in mind that some things may be said that may not be the best presentable for these people.
I had a fun idea. How about before anything, we should say what our religion is.
That's what Mads,
all I'm gonna say is that there's 4 of us, so one more person to be canceled.
No.
Listen, Mans, I'm the damn director here, okay? I know what the hell I'm doing.
Okay, Miss Thing, then get on with it.
I was getting on with it until you interrupted me. Damn. All right. So
oh my God.
What I was gonna say is this: we're gonna go around before we get into it, and we're gonna say what we believe about the afterlife. Before Mads rudely interrupted me.
Yeah, get into it.
All right. So now, Chris, what do you believe happens after you die?
Personally, I kind of believe that it's like nothingness, like the same thing that you see or lack thereof, like when you're sleeping, besides like dreams. Like you can't really feel when you're sleeping, or you can't really feel when you're taking a nap. It's kind of just like, okay, fades into a black room, and then you wake up and you're like, okay, back to life. It's like the emptiness of sleeping, or the emptiness of like not doing anything or closing your eyes. I feel like that's what the afterlife is like. Like you don't even feel it. Like you don't feel yourself sleeping when you're sleeping. It's just like, okay, I'm sleeping. I feel like that's what the afterlife is like.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And what about you, Mads? What do you believe?
It depends, really, because some days I'm like, oh my God, I love Jesus Christ and the God and the Lord above. And then other days I'm like, that does not exist, this thing. That is not real. But I feel like
Mads,
I feel like it's
number one, I've never heard you say the first one. And 2, if you say Miss Thing one more time, I'm going to kick you out of this damn group call.
Okay. Anyways, just some days I'll be like, yeah, I really think that, there's like God, and that, the Bible sometimes is factual. But then other days I'll kind of just be like, well, like it was written by people. Like it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like this isn't like something that, no offense to, the other person in the room, which we will not name. And just like some days I'll just think of it as, like Chris said, like either there's nothingness. Like I'd love to think that there's, something there when we die, but I know that's probably not what happens.
Yeah, I think we all like the idea of like, okay, we go to this beautiful cloudy place with a blue sky and a rainbow and a Pegasus. Like I just feel like that's just unrealistic for me.
Me too.
Okay, so before we go on to Davin, just know everybody kept theirs down to less than 5 minutes, so try not to explain the whole Bible to us. So go ahead.
Girl.
What do you believe, Davin? What do you believe after you are stabbed to death happens?
Okay, so because I'm a Christian, of course, I kind of like you're obligated to believe in. Oh my God. But as a Christian, I'm supposed to believe like it's heaven or hell. but I can see a lot of possibilities, like with reincarnation
Yes.
and other stuff. I can reel it out or whatever, but I mainly just believe in heaven or hell.
And what do you picture hell to be like?
Well, it's different for everyone, but it's basically the worst thing you could possibly imagine being
Yes.
stuck in.
Wait, Davin, can I touch up on what you just said a little bit?
Yes.
I personally believe everyone has like a personal hell. So like
Yeah.
either the worst
I mean,
time in your life, or like the worst thing you could imagine in your life, or being stuck with the worst person in your life. Like, I really feel like it depends on each person. Like, if you have like someone abusive in your life, or someone who constantly causes issues, Derek, you would kind of be trapped in like a personal hell with them if they affect you that badly.
well, look, how it is, people think of hell as just this big fire pit. Fire wouldn't really be hell to everyone. Like, not everyone's going to see that as hell. It's going to be specific to you. And I can promise you one thing, it's described as, it's like, you can't even imagine. It's not going to be like what you think hell is on this earth. It's going to be way worse.
But anyways,
I feel like the scariest thing you can imagine, you can't even imagine it. So like, you know how there's things that we've never seen before? Like the things that we're mostly scared of, like well, maybe not you guys, because you guys like horror movies, but like horror movies, or like things people are supposed to be scared of, or they're taught to be scared of. I feel like that's the bare minimum of what hell would be like. Like, you would see shit that you couldn't even imagine, or you've never even like conceived to be a thing.
Well, that's how it is described. It's just hell. You won't ever get numb to it. You won't get used to it. It'll just be the worst thing forever. Like, there's no end. You'll never just get used to it. It'll never get better. It's just gonna be awful forever, and even after that, which is why I don't want to go there.
Chat?
No,
I mean, like, that's funny, but it's not.
I think I think Boho is my personal hell, honestly.
Okay, well, I promise you, y'all are gonna be shocked if you end up in hell, because it's not.
All right, says the one without a fucking caricature. Sit on the damn couch. Listen, okay.
I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna look sexy.
So now that these three have gone, now it's my turn.
Oh fuck.
Because there is no God. Nothing happens. You die. You die. That's basically it. Now, I'm not going to drag it out like that, but that's my basics, okay? Before you were born, you knew nothing. You were completely non-existent matter. And then suddenly you were popped into the universe. You have a consciousness. You have awareness. You have knowledge, for most people. And, you have a living body. And then once you die, your heart stops. Your brain stops. Everything stops that gives you consciousness. Everything that you first had when you were learning and becoming this person in society is all gone. The only thing that remains is your matter, your physical matter, your body. So, like if you're cremated, your matter's in the ashes, but it's also spread around everywhere, because you're being literally burnt into like smoke and fire and ashes. So to me, you were non-existent, and then you came into existence, and you're going to go out just like how you came in. You're not going to know anything unless you're literally sitting there bleeding out and everything. But it's not like you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die and wake up in a fucking fire pit. Holy hell. It's just nothing. You don't know. Because nothing happens. It's just exactly how you came in. Everything just stops. That's it. No memory, no anything. Just the end. That's all it is. And, people bring up this heaven and hell thing. Bad people go here, good people go here. But if you really think about it, bad and good things are literally constructs by people.
Yeah, they're subjective.
You cannot really say
it's morals and like ethics and stuff.
Morals and ethics. Those aren't real things. It's just things that we've made up so our society as a whole can function better. That's it.
But at the same time, there's kind of like unspoken rules, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
You're
man
But
shall not,
also,
like murder and like pedophilia, rape. I feel like those things are kind of unspoken.
well, yeah, but that's because we become smarter. We become, we've looked into our heads.
Looks at Shane Dawson.
No.
We've
Wait,
seen
actually, sorry.
we've seen that mentally and physically, you're really able to have a relationship with someone on the same headspace once you're 18. Before that, you can't consent because you don't know what you're doing. Your brain is still developing for the most part, things like that. So although we've looked into our biology and we've set rules based on that, if you look in the wild, just animals without much conscience, just they're surviving because that's all they know what to do. They eat each other. I mean, they attract mates and stuff with like noises and shit, but that's it. They just keep their species going, and that's it. And they just do what is in their brain to do. It's wired. And, it's not like they're going to seem guilty for killing that antelope just so the lion cubs can eat. It's just what they're supposed to do. So good and bad people don't really exist. It's just a construct. So if you really think about it, this, people say that God, it's always been like this white guy with a long beard, blah, blah, blah. And then recently people have argued that it's a woman, or there's also a generalized portion of people who believe it's just something you cannot imagine. It is just a force beyond knowing, right?
Can I
What?
like about God, what you just said? Never, like, they don't ever really even say he's just some big white man with a beard, child. They say you can't even look at him because it's not something we can imagine in the Bible.
Wait, I'm sorry. I feel as though like everything has been so like generalized, and like I feel like white people just made their idea of something.
Yeah.
And since it's just their idea, people have kind of just went on with it because you can't really argue with it because it was made before you existed. So it's like, what are you supposed to argue with? It's like the people who have made it in the past already. You can't just be like, well, that's not true, because it's like people have kind of just got used to the idea of it. Like most people have a damn like Jesus statue in their house, and it'll be a white guy with a beard. Like it's kind of just like something that you just see. It's like normal. We grew up with that idea.
I just realized there's grass going through my shoe.
You know,
on the thumbnail.
Actually,
His lag is too awful.
scientists studied what like Jesus would have actually looked like back then. Never mind.
Wait, okay, Derek, didn't you say you were not going to drag this out this long?
Well, I mean, I was already past my thing. I was just, giving a generalized thing. So you guys were welcome to add on to that at all. I mean, at any point.
Well, I have something to say.
I feel like,
I'm laughing.
Can I say one thing just really fast?
Yeah.
Sure.
So basically, we have two people at two sides of the spectrum, and then we have me and Chris in the middle about certain things. So I feel like this is a good spread, like just for the basics of the podcast. It's a good spread of people because Derek's like, there is no God, and Davin's like, there is a God, and then me and Chris are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. People often bring up this thing. When most religions imagine a God, they imagine an all-powerful and all-good being, right? When you depict heaven, it's because you were a good person in life. You are going to have a good afterlife.
Not even that.
And anyways, and then there's this whole thing that people constantly bring up, and they're like, well, if God is so good, then why does he let rape happen? Why does he let natural disasters occur? Why does he let people die in such horrible ways? And there's this whole thing that, humans have free will and they ate the apple and it's kind of their fault. But God is all about forgiveness. So why wouldn't he have forgiven a species that is long past the two that have done that, eaten the fucking forbidden fruit, and then moved on with his life? Like, how petty is he, is all I'm saying. And so when you bring up this idea that a God is all powerful and all good, he's either A, not all powerful, so he can't stop what happens with the natural disasters, or B, he's not all good, so he lets people, die and stuff like that. So what do you think, Devin? What do you think about that statement?
Okay, well, basically, I think if God just stepped in and stopped everything bad that happened, nobody would learn anything.
Oh,
That's true.
I see that.
I mean,
And
all
that's-
actions that, aren't generally good, you learn from them through, trial and error. So I understand that point. Like,
Yes, so
all of the things we've learned in our lives, it's mostly because of the consequences from them.
Well, yes,
exactly.
you learn from consequences.
So yeah, it's
Why
just
step in and say one sentence?
Oh,
Well, I mean, I was waiting for them to finish. I was just adding on to that.
I agree with what Davin's saying, but I also understand where Derek's coming from in that sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
the
like
big
it's
deal.
just difficult to, because even as a kid, I was always one of those people to be like, when I see it, I believe it. Like, so I never believed in Santa Claus. Maybe when I was like really young, but I think around 6 years old, I was like, well, I've never seen this man. People have said they've seen him, but I've never seen him, so I don't believe it.
I'm just the type of person that's like, personally, I'm just like, I just think about things too deeply to the point where it's like, how would I ever know in my lifetime if like all these stories like Adam and Eve and all that stuff even happened? Like, how would I ever get to know that? Like, it was documented and people know about it, but like, how in my lifetime am I ever gonna know if it was actually true? If it was just like stuff to fill history books to make our lives seem important?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's another thing with that. And we were bringing up this whole white guy with a beard, that kind of thing, Jesus whitewashed. Jesus was a real person. He lived in the Middle East during a very long time.
That's what I was trying to say when you said I was lagging.
Oh, well, yeah, he was a real person. He was Middle Eastern, and, they killed him because he was popular. And then in turn, he only became more popular. People created this religion thinking he was this God, this all-powerful being who knew everything. And to me, I think that's just looking for the light in the darkness. I don't think he had any powers. I think he was just some guy who was a morally good person to society standards. And people liked that. And people wanted to believe that is what is good. So they spread out this religion and stuff. And then, the churches, they wanted money. So they were like, you can pay to repent your sins, to get rid of them. And they made money off that. And then people believed it. And so for generations after that, these people who were delusional and believed that they could really be saved from this horrible life that they had back then and paid all this money for it, they believed that this was the real reality. And so way down the line, people still believe it now because it's been ingrained into them. And now, churches don't do that anymore, but that's where it started. That's where it's rooted.
I
They
don't
still have offerings at church.
Yeah, there's this thing where they usually take like 10% of your pay or whatever, and then like if somebody needs help or something like that, those funds will go to that. I don't know, but what I'm saying is churches obviously isn't like give me $30 and I can tell God to forgive you for having premarital sex. It's like there's a lot of things that are really rooted in that, but obviously white people thinking they're above everyone whitewashed Jesus and God and made it into their thing because they see anyone who isn't how they look dirty or bad or things like that is what I'm saying. So I mean, yeah, Jesus was a real person. He's not at all what he looks like in all these other things. And he was like 4'11" or something, so there's that. So I mean,
Can I have a go?
Yeah, but also just know, guys, this is most likely going to be a 2-part episode. We've got about 22 minutes, and we usually make them about 30, 32 minutes. So after we upload this one, there will be another one coming like very soon. So, all right, go ahead, Evan.
Okay, so first of all, this was supposed to be about the afterlife, but it did kind of become a Christianity talk or whatever debate, which is okay because it's an interesting topic.
Well,
but
I mean,
first
that's
of
also
all,
the part about the religion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But first of all, what I want to say is like I feel like yes, all of what you're saying is like reasonable. Some things it's like you don't know that much about church probably as much as I do because you don't go. So a lot of things you're saying sounds inaccurate, written in the Bible. But, like, yeah, I know y'all think I'm stupid because Derek, Dallas, Chris, y'all constantly spit me with these realistic, scientific facts of how it can be real. And yes, it sounds like very for real. Like, I hear you. It sounds like none of this could be real. But, I mean,
I respect you, Devin.
I
I think,
know.
like,
It's just, y'all think I just believe because my family took me to church when I was little and stuff. They don't even make me go that much. I asked my mom to go back because we haven't been in months. And
Are
I
the churches
just,
closed?
no. I believe because I want to believe. I don't have to see nothing. I don't need no facts. I rely on my intuition. And I just feel like it's real. So I just want to believe.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. I base everything off of things that are true. They are science. They can be proven again and again. And
That's where you're wrong.
Davin is more rooted in belief, in faith. And that's why religions are called faith, because there is no proof. It's just believing. It's you're having faith in something that you believe. You know, there's no proof that any of that really happened or that it was true. See, to me, I think you know, people did believe this was like religion at one point, and then people often took advantage of it, obviously. But I think also the modern Bible that we have is not at all what it was originally.
Oh,
It
no,
wasn't.
definitely not.
It wasn't.
Tampered with it, especially white people, to engrave this superiority complex and to make people think what they thought was wrong is wrong. So, you know,
Ooh,
gay
can I touch on something?
Yes.
Like, Davin, remember the video I sent in Boho of that woman explaining how the translation wasn't even
Yeah.
about gay people? It was
You didn't
about,
even send
like,
it to
Yeah,
Boho.
it was
pedophilia.
pedophiles. It was pedophiles.
I don't think that was actually true. I think they found out that was wrong, but it's okay.
I told Davin something about that too. Like, it was only mentioned later on down the line when.
I mean, I've saw that a long time ago, and I was like, "Oh, that's neat." So the Bible don't say gay people's wrong, but then someone was like, "Actually, no, that is not what they meant."
Just because I've always heard that for years, and then other people are like, no, that's not true. But it's usually like white straight people that are like, oh no, that's not true.
Yeah, and here's another thing. God, you know, people say, oh, you know, homosexuality is a sin, whatever, being trans, all LGBT bad, basically, to God's eyes.
They never said nothing about trans people.
I'm just saying, the marginalized people of Republican Christians believe that. So what I'm saying to that is, you don't get to decide if you're that.
Yeah.
I know.
So why would God make you that if he thinks it's so bad? It just
Also, Davin, I wanted to ask you a question. I've been wanting to ask this for a while. Okay, like, I've heard people say that the older Bible, or like the stories about God, like a long time ago, or like he was like really like strict and like mean, but now people are saying like, oh well, God loves everyone. Like, what's your opinion on that? Like, people used to portray him as like a really like kind of like super, like, if you do this, then I'll do that. But now he's like, I love everyone. You know,
people always portrayed gods, not just Christian gods, as wrathful beings that, you know, they would hide as people, like especially Greek gods.
Yeah.
They would hide as a regular person, see if a person would, like, you know, give them food or whatever, and it turns out they were a god in disguise, and now they hate you, and then Poseidon's gonna beat the hell out of you because, you know, you didn't allow him in your home or whatever. That's there. It's always been portrayed like that. And my personal opinion is that I think it's fear. They were trying to scare people. But Gavin, what do you think about that?
Okay, look, this is the thing I'm 100% most definitely confused about in the Bible, but I've been thinking about it also. I've been trying to reason it out, and by my own terms, because, you know, I firmly believe God is reasonable. If there's going to be someone who is a God, like the highest being of all that knows everything, he has to be very empathetic and reasonable, or it has to be a very reasonable thing, you know, because it understands all, it knows all, it can't just be biased about stuff. But but I was in church and they were we were learning about this story where God's people were promised this land or whatever, but these other people came in and stole it. He let them run in there and kill everybody. It said young and old. So they was he was letting them kill little kids and all this. I'm like, God, those kids didn't do nothing. Like, that don't make no sense. So that's where I think there's some plot holes in the Bible. But I believe in God, so I'm gonna just sit back.
And there's what was it? I was about to bring up something. Oh yeah, and Davin, what would you do if? Well, I mean, you already know, 2020, fucking the biblical apocalypse. What would you do if, let's say, in July, aliens came down here and said they were just checking on their experiment, this human in water that they planted on this molten rock millions of years ago? What would you do then? How would you feel? Would you consider them to be your god or what?
I would be like, plot twist. But like, I wouldn't care, I guess. I would still believe in God, even if it's like everything is pointing against it.
Well, what if people literally came down here, aliens, and they literally had proof that they had started the human race on this planet, on Earth?
I would say, give me the receipts.
Okay, but obviously there's still people going to be in denial, people have this whole thing like an all-knowing God. But if your all-knowing God is just a species who wanted to create life, that would destroy so many people's ideals, their morality. I mean, it would really cause chaos, honestly. And I feel like people would still not believe it, even though that is literally what happened. I feel like people would still be like, God is Jesus Christ, heart emoji. You know what I
mean? Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna have to wrap this. We're gonna have to wrap up this part here in a minute, and then we're gonna have to go to part 2.
All right.
And then you and Chris can give some more input.
Yeah.
Me or Mads?
Mads.
Me and Chris can say some more stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for watching part 1. It was very interesting, very hostile. It was very intriguing. Hopefully you may have learned something. Hopefully you don't hate us completely because we completely denied a whole religion. So yeah, come back for the next part if you want. All right, everybody, say goodbye for part 1.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sure.